Now, the most trusted name in radio, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
All right, it's another day in paradise. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? We have, of course, former U.S. diplomat David Hunter in here. We have Jim Feeney, who's an entrepreneur, and I'm Rhett Palmer, and it's good to have you here. We have a lot to discuss today, gentlemen, a lot going on in the world. This is what we're going to cover. State Department says it appears Israel committed war crime violations. Well, we'll find out about that. Two American doctors trapped in Gaza. 3, CNN reports of Abu Ghraib style torture prison in Israel. Did UN General Assembly vote against Israel prove anything? All right, so let's get back to the top here. State Department says it appears Israel committed war crime violations. An interview on Face the Nation last Sunday, Secretary of State Blinken said that while at least some conduct by Israel in Gaza appears to violate international human rights, it is not possible to confirm this while the war is going on. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, well, this has been advertised for a number of months now.
Yeah.
They were going to do a report to Congress specifically on whether the Leahy Law was being violated. The Leahy Law is a law by Patrick Leahy, sponsored by him, that was saying that we would not supply arms to any units of any military that was using American arms in violation of international law, such as for gross human rights or whatever. So they did an extensive study. The State Department did an extensive study on that, and Blinken concluded, as of his statements last weekend, that there is it's reasonable to assess, based on what happened, that there have been acts that have been inconsistent with Israel's obligations under international law. So he's saying that it's reasonable to assess. But he's also putting in a caveat that we don't have the chance to verify whether specific units used our weapons to commit those crimes or not, because the war is ongoing. So we don't have a way to
I find it the weirdest thing in the world. There's a proper way to have war and a non-proper way to. What a bunch of bunk,
Well,
it's like.
Well, no, I agree with the use of what's called.
Let's say you can cut them up in the face, you can cut them up but you're not supposed to shoot them in the testicles.
Okay, well, remember, we've had this with the Lieutenant Calley case in Vietnam.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they slaughtered a whole village. Of Vietnamese
children and little
children
people
and people. They did, and that of course has established a pretty firm base.
So when I was at the Air Force Academy prep school at a high school, the commander of the prep school was a guy named Ben Pollard, Colonel Ben Pollard, and he spent 8 years in the Hanoi Hilton. Right next to 8 years with John McCain and the whole crew of them there, and the North Vietnamese tortured our guys all the time, right? War crimes all day long, but yet you don't hear about that, right? War is hell.
True,
War is hell for sure.
What about the Germans? We know that they shot down. They these guys and shoot them down.
What passes for war crimes these days, depending on what side of the political fence you're on, geopolitical fence, is who knows? Who knows? And the United Nations is a demonstrably anti-Israel organization.
The United States?
The United States, United Nations.
Yeah, that's what you meant.
Yeah, so the United Nations. And
demonstrably anti. That's his view. His view is that it's demonstrably.
I think the facts speak for themselves, just in the votes and so on.
Well, I think the votes.
Did you see that they wanted to make Palestine a member nation?
We're gonna get to that later.
You can see what he has brought into that.
His
title is "The 100-Year War on Palestine."
Yes.
I mean, this is like we're warring.
Now wait. The reason I brought this in is and for the audience out there, this is a good book to get some balance on the situation. We have to understand this. The settlement activity of taking over of Palestine has been going on for 75 years now. In fact, they're having what's called the 76th year of the Nakba, which was the original expelling of Palestinians, of 750,000 Palestinians. That took place today, I
When
think.
did Moses come into that territory and he wasn't allowed in because he hit the rock?
Rhett.
No, but when was that? I just want to know when that was.
Rhett,
When was that?
Moses.
It's about 1500 BC.
Yeah, it's
1500 BC.
Yeah.
Okay.
But keep in mind, Moses and his Israelites, that's what they were called at the time. And
Yep.
that was legitimately called Israelites,
Yeah.
even though, and because they were the descendants of Jacob, who was the.
It sounds like a traveling musical or something.
Yeah. Anyway,
Here come the Israelites.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and that's
Shabbat
what.
shalom.
And,
Shabbat.
and therefore, they came in and they invaded that territory, claiming that they had some rights to it based on what's called the crimes of Canaan.
Yeah.
And the crimes of Canaan were actually he was the grandson of Noah, and Noah's son Ham, who was the one who was the father of Canaan. He apparently had viewed.
He's the guy that started the whole showbiz thing. He was
had-
a big hand. That's why I say you're a big hand.
He had apparently viewed Noah naked. In his nakedness was the term for it. And there's no clarity as to exactly why that was such a big crime, but he'd gone into the tent and viewed Noah. Apparently Noah might have been a big drinker or something and was laying around naked. Yeah, Noah. This is Noah from Noah's
So
Ark.
why would they bother to write about a man just bumping into another man naked?
It's the son who saw the father naked, and that apparently, according to the history of Judaism, it was seen as a terrible crime. Noah cursed Ham and said, he didn't say, you yourself, my son, are going to be made a slave, but he said, your sons will be made slaves of all of my other sons.
Because he saw them naked?
Because he saw him naked. That's
kind of bizarre, isn't it?
It is kind of bizarre, but that's the story behind it.
I do remember
And
being a
also
kid.
not
And my
relevant.
father was killed the day before
It's relevant,
my father was
Jim.
killed the day before my 5th birthday. And we'd had a mattress caught on fire in the house.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't walk on the floor.
Right.
And I remember my father had to pick me up. I was maybe 3 or 4. And he
Yeah.
had to pick me up and take me into the bathroom.
Wow.
And I remember looking down going, gee, I hope I get to be big like that when I'm an adult man. But, you know, what's so bad about a young guy? You know, here's the 3-year-old seeing my dad. I mean, it's just
Right. Well,
I don't get
when
that
Jim-
at all.
when-
Also, you know what else?
yeah,
Pardon
he was
me?
in his 30s. He was in his 30s. He wasn't young. He wasn't a child.
Another thing is, too, you know, I was just kidding around when I
Yeah.
said about here come the Israelites.
Yeah.
You know, really, if you think about it, like, and listen, if you're Jewish, please, half my family's Jewish, and also I'm almost, you might consider a semi-Zionist, although that has different meanings in today's world, which we should go over. But anyway, those big hats they wear, the Hasidic Jews,
Yeah.
who in the world could take anybody seriously with those hats? What are they, mink hats or something?
What about the dreadlocks? That's even
The
more-
dreadlocks are fine. No, dreadlocks are fine. I mean, I think probably Jesus probably had those, you know, because, you know, in the
Well, who
whatever
knows?
you
Who
know,
knows?
and well, you know, everybody thinks it also about you're not supposed to put a razor to your face if you're Jew. The only reason Paul said don't put a razor to your face is because the Egyptians were shaving their entire bodies, and then they said don't put tattoos. So we got a lot of Christians thinking tattoos are evil. Tattoos aren't evil. It was because the Egyptians were putting tattoos. Paul said we need to come out and be separate as Christians. So do cut your hair and don't put tattoos on your body. People don't know the history,
right. Well,
and when they read the Bible and they go, Jesus
Anyway,
hates tattoos.
let's
You
go
know,
back.
I'm
Let's
afraid
go
that's
back.
not it,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Did you know that, Jim
interesting.
Sweeney?
Yeah.
See that?
Let's go
There's
back.
your biblical lesson for the day,
All
fellas.
right. Let's go back to Jim was saying he didn't.
But
see
what about those hats, though?
Rhett?
Okay.
Rhett. He was trying
What'd
to.
you say?
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
I'm asking what those
Rhett,
hats are.
Rhett.
Could you look it up?
Yeah, okay. Let's go back to the question. Jim was saying, I don't see
Yeah.
the relevance of my talking about Noah and the grandson, Canaan, having had a curse given on him by his grandfather. That curse of Canaan is the legal justification for the Israelites' claim to the Canaan, the whole Canaan area. That's the whole
Why?
basis for it. Because they're claiming that the curse of Canaan, you can look this up later, you guys.
Okay.
But this is, a lot of people don't know this stuff, and that's why I'm explaining
I
it
don't
to you.
even know it.
Yeah,
I'm
I know
supposed
it.
to know some of the stuff.
Yeah, so you look up
For a guy that doesn't
look up
know
the
anything.
curse of Canaan. That's the term, and
The
it is-
curse of Canaan.
and it is the justification for why Israel claims it has the right to return to that land which it did not previously own and did not occupy. Remember, when Abraham came there, Abraham was living in Ur. He wasn't living in Canaan. Abraham and his clan all came from the Mesopotamia. Ur is on the Mesopotamia.
Abraham never got to see the Promised Land, did he?
Abraham came to the Promised Land. He was the one who first came to Canaan. Abraham.
Well, I thought it was
with
Moses
Sarah.
and the other guys.
No, Moses was after they had been imprisoned in Egypt. Your history is way off.
Wow.
I
really got it mixed up.
Moses was after Abraham and his clan went to Egypt because of a famine in Canaan, and Egypt had the silos thanks to the one of Abraham's sons who was able to be co-pharaoh of Egypt, and they had developed grain silos. So the Egyptians were prepared for a 7-year drought. So anyway, the Israelites moved to Egypt, and they lived there, and then they became, later on, when a new pharaoh came along, they became slaves, and they were made slaves for several hundred years, and then they finally came back with Moses leading them back to, quote, Canaan, the Promised Land. All right, that's how it worked.
I did you a disservice. Do you know Jonathan Cahn? You know who he is? He's a New York Times bestselling author. He's this Jewish guy who's a rabbi who believes in Jesus. I mean, a phenomenally super intelligent guy who's studied all the history of this stuff, which will blow your mind on how circumstances have come together.
Yeah.
I mean, I really should have introduced you when he's in town. I'm supposed to do an interview with him, but I would love to sit down with. I would like to not leave the room and leave you two alone, so you had an intelligent. This guy's an academic.
Good.
But he really knows his
Yeah.
whatever. What do you call ABCs? What do you call them?
Right.
P's and Q's.
P's and Q's.
Okay. Well, so anyway, Jim, you want to make a comment before we move to the? I want to get a little
Jim's been
deeper into this.
biting at the bit here.
I'm not even sure where to go with this. It's
Well, if you say anything, that'll stir it up, I'm sure.
all right. I think you to go back that far. I mean, it seems to me that legal rights to this land are not going back that far. Don't really matter at all. Because that particular area of the world and all areas of the world have been subject to conquest by history. When Cyrus the Great decided he was going to expand the Achaemenid Empire, aka the Persian Empire, who was the first Persian king about 550 BC, he liberated the Jews from Babylon. He attacked Babylon, right, separate kingdom, and then
Why did he liberate them?
Well, my point is this. You had empires expanding and taking over territory, like the Romans did it with Israel.
Genghis Khan and his brother Don.
Exactly. So the rules are: listen, you conquer, you win. Period. So at the end of the day, trying to create some legal justification going that far back. I mean, I didn't create the world. I guess it's God that created the world, but war is part of it, and with war come the spoils. Israel's there now. We need a two-state solution, and despite that, Hamas is demonstrating themselves to be incredibly competent propagandists and manipulators.
Can I ask you this?
And they're keeping the news cycle just full with their agenda. And we fall right into it, where a certain part of our country falls right into it.
If you were a deceiver,
our diplomatic
corps. If you were Arafat, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm a deceiver, if I was determined, right, I would have said, okay, I'll do the 50-50. And then I said, with my idea that I'll conquer you later, I'm going to take back the other 50. Why didn't they just accept the other 50 at least? You know what I'm saying? And another thing is, when we beat Germany, right, I don't know about you, but you're supposed to, I mean, in this world, the spoils of war. I mean, we never should have handed Germany back to the German people. Do you think so?
Absolutely.
I mean, we said,
why not?
Because we beat your ass and we're taking over. Because you mothers started World War I, then you started World War II.
Hold on, Rhett.
Calm language.
Well, I just said mothers.
No, you used several borderline swear words. So don't.
What did I say?
We beat your ass.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, first of all, that means the United States is going to occupy Germany. We're going to bring in people from like Topeka. All you Germans are gone. No, we did the smart thing, which was reconstruct Germany and Japan. And those turned out to be strategically brilliant moves.
Why?
Because you're going to make an enemy an ally. You make the most important
Lincoln
country.
said that. How do you conquer an enemy, make him a friend?
That's exactly right, and that was the smart move. The Marshall Plan in Germany, and similar plan in. I had an uncle that was part of that, MacArthur's reconstruction of Japan. So that was the best move then. Spoils of war. Israel is there. It was established in 1946. Now, I know David believes that it was done illegally, and the Zionist movement.
Wait a minute! Don't put words in my mouth. You can
I won't
say
do
what
that.
you think.
Okay, that's fine. He
Well,
does
you
it.
could say, I presume,
No,
David.
you can say what you think, and I'll say what I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we are
Watch
where
out,
we are.
Noah will come in here and he'll be starting trouble with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be talking about other things
Anyway,
besides
this is
Israel.
Rhett,
There's
Rhett,
a lot more on the geopolitical stage
Yeah,
going on.
we've
than,
got
than just
a
Israel.
list of topics
Okay.
that we're going to cover if we can get around to them
Okay.
without getting sidetracked. Okay.
Enough
And
of my,
the
no.
sidetrack was partly because Jim was talking about Senator McCain having been in the war prisons in Vietnam.
And
okay?
the sidetrack, and that was a response.
And who was
Hold on,
involved?
Rhett. That was a response to. Well, remember Lieutenant Calley?
Yeah.
He did a war crime in. He murdered some people and put them in a ditch.
Vietnam.
That he suspected were VCs because the VCs back then did the same thing that Hamas does. They marble themselves in the population. You can't tell who's a combatant and who's a civilian. Exactly.
Did he
Hamas.
get convicted or anything?
Yeah, he was convicted.
And not rightfully so, you don't think?
Yeah.
But
it
about
seemed to be-
McCain, you said somebody was in with McCain.
Colonel Ben Pollard.
Okay, did he confirm that McCain supposedly gave up a lot of secrets? Was there any truth to that? Was that valid? I mean, because Trump called him.
Okay, that's down to rabbit hole. We don't want to
No.
talk. We're not going to talk about McCain and that whole story,
Okay.
and we don't want to stay on Vietnam very long.
Well, I thought maybe you could stay here for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
The point is, what I'm trying to establish is that violations of human rights. You guys were saying, oh well, it's war, and therefore there's no such thing as human rights. That's not true. I used the Calley example where he was convicted and sentenced for his war crimes as an example. It wasn't that I wanted to get off on Noah and.
How do you convict a soldier for being a soldier?
Well, you actually can convict a soldier, and you can convict the soldier's superiors for acts that are violations of war and of
Do
international
you know how many
law.
people got off the hook in Germany after
I know
the war?
people have gotten off the hook. That doesn't prove that it is correct that they've gotten off the hook. I'm going to show you examples of Israel getting off the hook for about the last 20 years. I'm going to show you that. This is something called Operation Defensive Shield. This is a story that was written in 2002 about an Israeli military operation going on in Gaza. And it sounds remarkably like what's happening today. Now, this was 20 years ago, and the same exact thing was going on.
This has been going on forever.
And including
Really?
the harsh incarceration in what's called interrogation camps or prison camps. Okay, that's one example of things that have been happening. We're going to report on that today because the CNN has just done a breaking news report. CNN, the U.S. company, CNN. You've heard of them.
The fake news people.
No, they're not fake news. CNN is not the
I've
fake
heard
news.
them do some fake news.
All
but
right, anyway.
They're not clean,
CNN is...
What happened? What's the breaking news?
The breaking news is that they have confirmed 3 whistleblowers that are working in one of these interrogation camps that the Israelis have been running. We will discuss that. That's actually a topic coming up here, right there. You see that? So, but let's finish, before we get on to the CNN, let's finish with this very important information.
Mass destruction. What was it? Things of mass destruction. What was the thing with,
WMD?
With Bush and the mass destruction, the weapons
I know,
of mass
the yellow
destruction?
cake. The yellow
I mean,
cake.
if our CIA can't confirm something legitimately, how can we expect CNN to confirm something legitimately?
Well, let David make his points.
Yeah, people, there are questions all the time about what is actually true, and you're raising that point very validly. That, where do you know for sure? And do you know if the whistleblowers are really true and if they're speaking the truth or whether they're, got a slant to them? There's always trying to get facts and get intelligent decisions based on facts is difficult. It's not an easy thing. You can't just turn on YouTube and watch something and say, oh, I saw it on YouTube, therefore it's true. That's not the point. I want to go back to the State Department decision by the Secretary of State. he made the determination that there's reasonable to assess that Israel has been inconsistent in its application of international humanitarian law. The National Public Radio said it's reasonable to assess Israel has violated international law. The Associated Press said it's reasonable evidence that a U.S. ally has breached international law. Okay, those are all statements.
What about Hamas? Have they been doing anything?
No, Rhett, no, what about? I don't want to talk about what about. Don't raise an alternative scenario. We're talking.
Well, but you have to. They're in possession of.
To be fair,
they're in possession of 150 hostages and have for 6-8 months now.
They're not serving them with a rose and scrambled eggs every morning.
They rode across the border and raped and murdered civilians.
You're not following the logic.
To start this whole.
You're not following the logic of this discussion. The logic of this discussion
but that's your logic, Dave.
The logic of this discussion is whether or not the U.S. has grounds to curtail shipments of military equipment to Israel based on their failing to apply international law. That's the logic. We're not trying to stray off on other subjects.
Using your own facts, all right, Biden just announced yesterday that he's restarting $1 billion worth of aid, stuff that was taken off the table. So whatever
did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, whatever the State Department concluded from this, Biden, the president, this Democrat administration said, okay, well, whatever, we're gonna start giving Israel the weapons it needs to succeed again. So whatever evidence they found or might have found didn't come to the level that we shouldn't be helping our ally.
We're getting to an interesting point. Jim has raised this question about the billion. Actually, it's not a billion. It's about 13 billion, 14 billion of military aid that has been approved by the Congress, and Biden has apparently.
I just want a couple of more million.
Anyway, and much of this is arms. Now, simultaneously. Rhett, pay attention.
Yes, sir.
This is an important topic.
Yes.
We don't have a lot of time, and the audience needs to know this. Yes. The same time that Biden is apparently giving a green light, that's not correct, and I'm going to explain to Jim why it's not correct.
Okay.
But he is apparently giving a green light to this multi-billion-dollar aid package of arms to Israel, which sounds inconsistent with what the State Department has said. It also is true that the Biden administration, with Biden's approval, is not shipping 2,000-pound bombs. These are the big bombs. It has decided to suspend the shipment of those bombs as long as Israel is threatening to invade Rafah, which is this heavily
haven't they already
populated.
invaded?
No, they haven't. They have not. Officially, they have not.
Little military operations happening in the southern neighborhood for 3 or 4 days now.
I know it has,
so
I know it has, and they have also cut off the Rafah border, which is causing increasing humanitarian disaster because they can't bring aid trucks into Rafah, which is the main delivery point. So they're basically what I call sieging, if not attacking, Rafah. And they also have a separate war going on up in the north called Jabalia refugee camp, which is an area they had cleared, the Israelis had cleared
and that
months ago.
And then Hamas has since repopulated because Hamas has gone to guerrilla war now because they're being beat.
The reality,
Jim, were they in guerrilla war all along?
No, they had battalions. They were fighting more conventionally, but now they're in a guerrilla fashion.
Well, let's say this is going to go on according to
years.
NBC, which I shouldn't be watching either.
You should watch all of them, Brent. Watch all of them.
I do try to watch all.
Yeah.
Ironically,
don't sit there.
You would think, and they would think.
Yeah.
I hardly ever watch Fox.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't watch Fox.
If you want to see the IDF position, watch Fox.
But I don't watch CNN either.
Yeah, for the most part.
Or MSNBC. Well, but I do watch NBC, CBS, ABC.
Anyway,
but like it's terrible. Like the last night in the evening news, they're saying that guy with the lawyer was Trump's fixer. I mean, they're already like it's like he's guilty before he's guilty,
Brad,
and that's
Trump
NBC.
We're not talking about Trump today.
But if they're not valid about stuff like that, and they're deceivers about everything now.
Okay,
who do we trust?
That's the big question in this day and age. Who do we trust?
As far as
some young people are going to come forward and bring out the real news.
Let me use an example of
Walter Cronkite.
Let me use an
example. I didn't know he was a liberal.
I think State Department took what I called a dodge by saying, "Oh, we've concluded that they've committed war crimes, but we can't prove it, and therefore we are not going to be able to impose under our U.S. law, the Leahy law, a arms embargo. So that basically has left Biden hanging in the wind. If he wants to suspend aid to Israel, he's going to have to use political grounds to do it, not the legal grounds. That's basically what happened. State sidelined Biden and left him to take all the responsibility if there's going to be any kind of reining in of Mr. Netanyahu. Now, does the president have the ability to rein in?
By executive order only, right?
The president actually does have that ability.
He's the commander in chief.
And the reason I will use this is an example of what happened
God help
in
us.
1982. President Reagan suspended the sale of F-16 jet fighters to Israel.
Why?
Because they had invaded Lebanon. They had invaded Lebanon and were engaged in actions that the U.S. did not agree to.
Isn't Lebanon pretty neutral
Anyway,
most of the time?
We're not talking about that. We're just talking about the decision. Reagan suspended the shipment. He said he did not explicitly state, but he said that the terms violate the arms supply agreement called the Arms Export Act, and that the president has discretionary authority to cut off military aid to any nation found in substantial violation of that agreement.
Okay,
Now,
stipulated.
so the
the
reality,
president can give aid and can taketh away as well. So that's
Biden,
not news.
So the reality is, if Biden wants to, Biden can say to Israel, no, even though the Congress has passed this, and Congress, by the way, is now trying to pass a law. They've just, in the last day or so, they're trying to pass a law saying that this aid must be delivered regardless of whether the Congress
Larry King interviewed Nixon and said, "Why do we always give to Israel?" He said, "Because it is as our only stronghold of democracy, legitimate democracy in the Mideast." Is that true? Is that why we are so committed?
No, it's not. That's not true. And the reason why
you say it's not true, but
you asked me. You asked me, and I'm saying it's not true. Yeah. It's not a stronghold of democracy. Israel is barely a democracy at all.
What do you think it is
right now? I think it's a theocracy. I've said that before. It's a religious theocracy of Jews. For Jews, by Jews.
I think that's a little crazy.
No. Because let me tell you something. Hasidic Jews, if they were running things, that's a theocracy. Those people are really.
I will mention again because
they're oppressors.
The past month and a half, it's been all Israel all the time. So we're eventually going to get back to these points. Like, we need a two-state solution. It cannot include the right of return, and Israel is not a theocracy.
What do you mean by right of return?
Let me explain each point. And Israel is not a theocracy, right? 20% of the population of Israel are Palestinians that are citizens that sit in the Knesset in their legislative body. They have all the rights of Israeli citizens. Most Israelis are secular Jews, not. I mean, I have friends in Israel. All right, I get updates from what's happening on the ground there.
My side of the family's Jewish or just secular.
All right, so you're Jewish.
Not me. They are.
Oh, are you an orphan?
It's a long story. I am actually an orphan. It's a long story.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. Then, but anyway, the point is this. They're the closest thing to a democracy, if we got to parse words here with David, compared to any other place in that neighborhood, they're a democracy. Would you dispute that?
I would say that
Lebanon's a democracy?
I would say that most of the Middle East is not democratic. That's for sure. Yes,
Israel's an outlier. They have elections. They vote. Saudi doesn't vote.
Yeah,
Jordan doesn't vote.
You can say they are more democratic than the than the royals and the emirs and all those and ayatollahs. They're more democratic
than all of them. Yeah, they're the top of the food chain
in that region. But they are not anywhere near the democracies that we have in Europe or the United States. Nothing like it. Okay, they're not.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Well, anyway,
maybe that's a whole show.
That's my opinion. I'm not going to. My focus is not going to be on whether Israel's democratic or not. That's not the focus that we're talking about right now. What I'm trying to explain is that the President of the United States has the ability to cut off arms sales.
You've said that, David, already.
And has said that if Israel invades Rafah, if Netanyahu ignores the requests of the United States to proceed with what's called the minimization of civilian harm while it is engaging in this attack on a ruthless Hamas. I have not contradicted you that Hamas is a bad bunch of people. If you can identify who is Hamas.
You don't think Hamas is a bad bunch of people?
No, I said they are a bad bunch of people. Oh, okay. So the point is, but the problem is if you can identify who is Hamas. Now this becomes a big issue. and it's become a big political issue. Right now, the question is how many of the 36,000 civilians or people that have been killed in Gaza since the beginning of this war, how many of them are Hamas? Now, the estimates that we've been hearing are that the women and children represent about 60 to 70% of those that have been killed. We do need to keep in mind that Gaza, Palestinians, 50% of the population is minors under the age of 18.
Keep having those martyr babies.
So,
what does that mean?
Take that back. Take that back.
That's
that is
what
that
they
is the
do.
most that is the most disgusting.
What does he mean by that? What martyr baby?
Martyr baby. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Have more babies so you can have
more. You should
more.
be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, more martyrs.
Yeah. No. The point is that.
Well, actually, they do that. I mean, we know that the kids are trained up to give their lives.
That's a high honor
with the parent approval.
High honor for a household. In Palestine.
No, it's not true.
It is. David.
Let me use a few examples here.
Okay.
First of all, I've mentioned this Operation Defensive Shield, 2002. In that period of time, Israel was blowing up, bombing, killing people. There were thousands held in detention centers, blindfolded and handcuffed. The same thing's going on today. We're going to talk about that a bit later.
It's a war. You take your combatants,
the war has been going on for the last 45 years, Jim.
I tell you what, here's what we do.
Okay, you're saying the war.
I'm
going to put
no,
a
it's
deal.
not. You're saying the war.
I'm going to put a deal on the table here.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't want a
this
deal
whole
on the
war.
table. I don't want a deal on the
Israel
table.
just says, all right, you can have your.
I'll give you a deal.
You can have Philistine. We're going to build a 75-foot concrete wall that's like 100 yards wide.
They've already done it.
No, they had chains and chain link fences and so on. Like, we're going to go all in. We're going to make it a Marshall Plan infrastructure to surround Gaza, right, so that no one can get out of there. Build underground tunnels for Israel to shoot anyone that comes that way, plus a second ring that's armed with machine guns. So Gaza is Gaza. You want to get to Gaza?
Yeah, but you got to let the people in Gaza go out more than 3 miles out to harvest
Build an airport.
fish.
Build an airport. Let them have seaports. Why don't you do that?
You do what you want. You do what you want. You have
They're
a
not
seaport.
going to let them do that. They want to control Gaza. In fact, we'll get to that in a a little bit. Their whole goal.
I'm sick of talking about it.
Well,
honestly.
I'm sorry that you're tired. You don't have to be here, Jim. You don't have to be here.
Hold on. I did watch a documentary, and maybe I should send this stuff to you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, this was made before this whole breakout. And it's of the kid saying, my friend's in a wheelchair because he walked over by the garbage thing and an Israeli soldier shot him. Now, that doesn't mean all Israelis are evil. It means that this one soldier shot this kid and he's now in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're not allowed to go more than 3 miles out to harvest. And why don't they have an airport? If they really want to give freedom to people, it is quasi imprisonment.
It's a prison camp.
This is the thing that blows my mind.
Okay.
The anti-Zionists, all right, which David is part of, right? They don't believe Israel has a right to exist, or certainly does the Palestinians have an equal right to exist. It depends where you are on the spectrum of anti-Zionism. From complete anti-Semitic anti-Zionism to
And the same thing with Zionists. There are pro-Zionists who believe.
Totally. There are spectrums of Zionists.
Yeah, but I've been running around saying I'm a Zionist, and Barbara's saying, hold on. There's 2 different kinds of Zionists going around today. You better be careful about saying that.
There are quote MAGA Republicans and moderate Republicans. There are, most of the Democrat Party is like super left-wing, but there are moderate Democrats, and then there's like the radical left flank. So all political ideologies have a spectrum, right? So at the end of the day, Hamas is a brutal dictatorship that prevents that's not a democracy. It got elected initially.
Legitimately or not, I don't know.
Whatever, they 75%. It was a lot, right? And they had the sympathy.
2004.
But if you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, it means like if God says in the Bible, you sow into the wind. So if you sow evil into the wind, watch out because it's going to come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, we call that karma, right? So, so Hamas, but the tendency is for all of the discussion in the media, most of the media, the mainstream media, from our State Department, which is populated by anti-Zionists.
No, don't say that, Jim. You don't know what you're talking about.
Who's populated? I missed it.
State Department is populated by anti-Zionists.
Yeah, Mr. Blinken, who is Jewish, is an anti-Zionist.
The State Department,
The
U.S. State Department.
Jewish Secretary of State is an anti-Zionist, right, Jim? That makes a lot of sense.
Well, it might I doubt it.
About
but, you know.
about 50% of the senior ranks.
Noah had to go out. He can't take it.
50% of the senior ranks of the Biden administration are Jewish, but they're all anti-Zionist, right? Because
so
You know,
you're
he's a
saying
sharp 26-year-old. We should invite him in here because he knows what's going down.
no.
Well, my point is the whole discussion is about Israel, not about Hamas. Hamas has it seems like no currency in this. It's like even though they murdered 1,200 people, they started this latest conflict.
They did not start it. Okay? Jim, let me explain something.
Okay, so
Doesn't matter what happened
something.
before.
This war has been going on for 100 years.
But they
and
did this.
The commitment of
Hold on. You could say that they had an excuse-itis or whatever. No.
Excuse.
They attacked Israel.
Rhett, do you know what they did
But
before
I understand. Okay, whatever. But they attacked Israel. At the point we had peace and quiet, and then they attacked Israel.
Here is an example. In 2002, the United States Middle East envoy, Mr. Roden Larson, said, "What we are seeing here is horrifying scenes of human suffering. Israel has lost all moral ground in this conflict." That was in 2002.
What was going on?
That was another war, like it was called Operation
written
Protected Edge.
by Muna Hamza.
But here's the problem.
That was
written
the
by
statement I
Palestine.
just read from the United Nations
Here's the
Middle
problem.
East envoy.
I don't. And let's be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now look at. I watch a lot of World War II movies.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of. And I'm just a common guy.
Right.
I watch a lot of
Right.
documentaries.
Yeah.
I thought, just like before Obama came into office, I thought we had put to bed people seeing the difference in colors. And all of a sudden it got revived when Obama was in office. There's no doubt that Obama's prejudiced and stirred up a lot of crap. I can prove it with one case only if you want me to. Absolutely prove it.
All right, so
Now,
what's the
shut
point?
up. No.
I'm not agreeing with that, but what's the
Okay.
point?
Okay, what was I talking about?
I don't know. You were talking
'Cause I
about
kinda
Obama
got
being
lost.
colored.
Let's go.
You can't
Yeah,
go into
no,
war
no,
without
I
a
didn't
gun.
say about Obama being colored. I said
You said he was stirring up racial prejudice.
That I believe.
Okay.
That I absolutely believe. But before,
And you also think
can't
he's a
trust-
Muslim, right?
No, I don't know about that stuff. But here's what I do believe.
That was the talk back then.
But here's what I do believe. My point is I didn't realize there was this sleeping prejudice. I don't know where this has all come from. These are supposedly intelligent, educated people.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I went to school with a lot of Jews that are very intelligent, and I have always esteemed Jews.
I esteem Jews.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-Jewish. I'm very esteeming of Jews, but I'm anti-Zionist, especially the extreme Zionism on that spectrum.
You and I have agreed on that.
Yeah.
So
But I
it
enjoy.
all comes down.
Do you
Well,
believe in the
when you
spoils
say-
of war? Hold on, the spoils of war. Whatever.
Wait a minute. When Jim says we've agreed on that, let me use an example of why we haven't agreed. Okay, when you say
Boy,
extreme,
we can't even get along on a radio
Well, we
show
can
like
get
this.
along.
No wonder they all
Rhett,
can't get
Rhett,
along.
What I'm trying to explain here.
God help
What I'm
us
trying to
all.
explain here is that the extreme Zionists should be condemned, and the extreme
To death?
Zionists
To death?
Condemned for
no,
what?
condemned meaning censored, removed. We should not be
Censored.
censored, removed. We should
Nah,
not be.
nah,
That doesn't
ain't-
sound like a democracy.
Nobody should be censored.
Listen. If
You
you
don't
have
do
a-
that in a democracy,
you-
I thought.
if you have an extremist that is throwing bombs or trying to kill babies, don't you think they should be censored? Hamas should be censored. Do you agree with that? They should be censored. I know some
Hamas-
Israelites that would say that Hamas should be liquidated. That's what the Israelites would say.
That's
that
up-
they should be liquidated.
That's fine. That's up to
Turn to
that's up
dust.
them.
That's
fine.
the
You don't have
is-
any problem. That's not a
I
democracy.
don't agree with it.
That's not a
I don't-
democracy.
So let me ask you this: we just watched college campuses in the United States where we have Palestinian students and Arab students and American students, black, white, all racial spectrum.
Chinese against
Listen,
the Jews. I
let's-
can't believe it.
Really. Protesting, saying "river to the sea,"
Yeah.
and some of them even, celebrating violence.
Okay, they
that
are
Hamas
not
does.
against the
But-
Jews.
but
Listen,
should we
they're
not
silence
against
them?
the Jews.
Should we silence them?
Oh, the police did. Yeah.
They didn't know that when they did. We listened to it. We listened to it for a month.
Well,
David,
what
and,
happened-
They haven't
and
silenced
all of the
anybody.
media apologists,
What
all the
happened?
media
No.
apologists saying, "Oh well, it's freedom of speech."
What?
So David wants to censor on one side, but let it go over here. This is the hypocrisy, the double standard.
Yeah,
I haven't
disagree.
seen many Jewish kids interviewed on national
Actually,
TV.
a lot of those people that Jim was describing were Jewish. The people that were in the protests, they were Zionist Jews.
I know that.
Okay, and therefore you
But
can't
that-
say they were anti-Semitic. You
But
say, they're
is it
anti-Jewish.
mutually exclusive? You know,
It is ironic and hypocritical for you to sit there and call these people who oppose Israel's occupation and brutal occupation and mistreatment of Palestinians.
Okay, now hold on. Here's the truth.
Rhett, let me
Everybody
finish.
wants to be tribal. There's a lot of Jews, and we want to say, there's a cluster here. There's a whole bunch of people that are really anti-war. They're calling it anti-Jewish, but they're really anti-war.
And that's
I mean,
correct.
there's a bunch of kids in the schools.
They're mislabeling it as anti-Jewish.
Well, you got bad kid coming and saying, we don't want to shoot. That's that one kid over there wants to kill all the Jews. We don't want to kill the Jews.
victim populations are very valuable.
Let me use an example.
Victim populations of victims, either real or perceived, have major currency in today's media, in today's politics.
Yeah,
if you can prove yourself an oppressed victim, or in your mind, you could make it up. It's like, I'm oppressed, and then you'll get a forum. And if you're part of the protected class of I don't even know what to call it.
We don't even have a code anymore. You know what? Okay, let me explain something. I went to something that would have radically changed your lives yesterday. I went to the memorial service for the police and the state police and all these people that have been killed in the past few years. Okay, I walked in.
I have a brother-in-law that falls in that category.
I never saw. I mean, I had tears in my eyes last night. We had a full orchestra. It was down in Port St. Lucie. All the sheriffs, all the police officers, and everybody was dressed. I mean, they didn't have a wrinkle in their outfit.
So you were impressed. You were impressed by that.
I'm sitting in this huge Catholic church down there. They have all these people that are all, and I'm going, my God, they have a code. They have a code. And I guess, there's no code anymore. I mean, among them there is, but
who are on the road.
Okay,
I sang that song to listen.
Okay,
that you can live by.
It was only a few years ago. You and I could shake a hand.
Where's the bell?
When I first came, when I first came to Vero Beach 30 years ago, I signed.
What year was that?
1993.
What were you wearing when you came?
When I shake hands with somebody, they used to say, so my secretary said, well, they owe us $15,000. Don't worry, I got a handshake there. They're going to pay me. Everybody always paid me.
Right.
But about 15 years ago, things changed. And all of a sudden, I had to be pushed to do these contracts. Now they don't even honor the damn contracts. We've become a world of liars. Where's the honor code? A man used to be as good as his word. Can you find many people like that now?
Yeah.
Now you got a guy that comes in and says, I'll do your roof. It'll be $5,000. Another guy comes and does it for $900. This actually happened to me in this town.
I agree with you that
Thieves abound.
There does seem to be a sliding scale or declining of moral values. That's something we're facing today. And hopefully all of us here can help to resurrect that. Bring back a bit more of what I call the
comedy and
the fairness. I wouldn't say today's
respect.
not a comedic, but respect.
No,
That's
He's gone down the drain.
comedy, not comedy.
Yes.
Comedy.
What does that mean?
Ask Siri. You always
comedy.
ask Siri.
Comedy.
Comedy.
Politeness, respect.
Hey Siri, what does comedy mean? No.
Take our word for it. We're your Siri.
Formal term. Associative Nations for their mutual benefit. Yes. Courtesy and considerate behavior towards others. Comedy. I didn't know that was a word.
See, that's it. Not comedy,
See?
but
No,
comedy.
comedy.
Non-stop learning here.
That's right. Good. No, we have to keep that in mind. That's part
I've
of
never
what
even
we're
heard
doing.
that word before.
Well, now you've learned it.
So it's like dignity, but it's comedy.
Comedy. Yes, that's
Common.
right. Comedy.
Common.
Yeah.
It. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, the point that I wanted to go back to the United Nations. We were discussing this thing about far right Zionists versus moderate Zionists, and the fact that a person can be Jewish and be pro-Palestine and not be considered anti.
How about pro-peace? Maybe.
They're pro the Palestinians. That's what they're doing out there, demonstrating, and they're Jewish. That does not make them anti-Jewish, but the ambassador to the United Nations of Israel has said in this recent vote, which was done with 140 votes in favor of granting Palestine, the state, additional rights. The ambassador to the United Nations of Israel said, if you vote for this bill granting them rights, it is proof that you are a Jew hater. Now, that's absolute lie, absolute wrong. If somebody supports Palestine, that does not mean they hate Jews. They may not like Zionism, and especially not Mr. Ben-Gvir's version of Zionism. That does not make them Jew haters. People need to understand there's a difference between anti-Jew.
If you elected Hamas, you are a Jew hater.
If you love Hamas, then by definition, the Hamas hates the Jews.
Yes.
So that's different. But if you are pro-Palestine, that
like
doesn't
he
mean...
said, you got these kids going from the river to the sea. They have no idea that means to annihilate the Jews, right? Isn't that what you just said?
I said from the river to the sea.
River to the sea.
And it has different meanings to different people, but it means...
To me, it means annihilation.
In the context...
Genocide.
Well, I can't talk unless you're talking. Okay.
Tell him he's interrupting.
Never mind.
Go ahead.
What was that? Never mind. Gilda Radner. Yeah. Rosanna Dana. Never mind.
Rosanna, Dana.
Yeah.
Never mind.
What were we talking about? Like, listen, my friends in Israel, David and Rhett,
Yeah.
say the strong majority of Israeli citizens, and that includes Palestinian Israelis,
Are moderates.
they just want to live and let live.
Yeah.
They're okay with it. They want a two-state solution. They want this to all be done. They just want to raise their kids.
Yeah.
And but David likes to bring up the Ben-Gvir or whatever, like the militant, the
militant
the
Zionists.
very small portion of that population that are militant, just like the small population of Gaza are rapacious, evil Hamas people that happen to be running the show. Right.
Yeah, and
So,
that's-
What are the bald-headed guys?
Jim,
Attention,
I
but
wanna-
who are the bald-headed
wait,
guys in
wait.
America we consider
Rhett,
the far
Rhett,
right?
Where's the bill? I want
are
to
those
jump
guys
in there.
called?
we don't.
I
it
want to
doesn't
jump
matter.
in there. He just said the Hamas are a rapacious, but a small percentage of the population, but they're running the show. The reality is the Ben-Gvir crowd is running the show in Israel.
How did that
Guess
happen?
what?
Same thing.
Guess what? In this,
How did that happen? How did they
I'll-
get elected?
You want me to tell you?
Yes.
You ready to listen?
I am.
Okay. Only if you're ready.
Come on now.
All right. Because in politics, things change. When you feel as though that your country is threatened and that law and order is diminishing in your country, kind of like it is now, right? You're going to elect a different group of people, right, to protect you, because the fundamental job of any government is to protect its own people. If it can't do that, it's not a government. So Israel has lived in a dangerous neighborhood since its founding. There have been 3 generalized all Arab countries in attempts to eliminate them. They've won all of those. They fought them back. They are a culture of people. They're a group of people. The Israeli population understands that they are hated and in a dangerous neighborhood. You're going to elect people, even though you may not agree with them, even though you may be a loving Israeli that wants to just live and let live. You know that if that's because Israel's had governments like that. They had lots of prime ministers going back decades that were much more liberal. That were completely unlike Netanyahu, and unfortunately, in the world that they live in, kindness is mistaken for weakness. You try to be kind, your enemies will exploit that. They'll say, oh, that's nice, we'll take that, and we're going to get other stuff too. Kindness for weakness. So eventually your population says, you know what, we're not going to get hoodwinked by that anymore. Peace, love, kumbaya, they have rights. We live in a dangerous neighborhood, and I need my government to protect us. If anything, they're holding Netanyahu accountable for, how could you, our intelligence services, our Mossad, have let 1,200 Palestinian Hamas people stream over the border and kill, or thousands, and stream over the border and kill 1,200 of our citizens. How could you, Bibi Netanyahu, Mr. Law and Order, Mr. Ben whatever, right, and all your intelligence services allowed that to happen? So he's on the carpet. He's not going to
be. That's what
he's not going to be.
He should be.
What David's not saying is they're going to keep Netanyahu in there until this Hamas thing is settled, because they trust him that he has Israel's interest at heart. Even though he might use, he may not.
Did it
he may
ever
use
enter your
tactics
mind
that
that maybe
like.
they allowed this whole thing to happen so they could go in and do this and annihilate Hamas?
That's 4-dimensional chess. I mean, maybe, but you got to prove that.
Actually,
very difficult to prove.
I'll give you some evidence of why I think it is at least valid, what you're suggesting. In January 2024, there was a large meeting called the Conference for the Victory of Israel, Settlements Bring Security. It was talking about specifically expelling all the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, getting rid of them and renewing Jewish settlements there, wanting to take over and make it a Jewish paradise. Let the flowers bloom, but get rid of all the Palestinians in Gaza. That was done in January.
Now, what was it?
It's called the Conference of Victory for Israel. And
was it a government conference, or was this a private, private think tank kind of thing?
It included at least 10 existing current cabinet members of Israel.
Okay.
10
so
cabinet
pretty official.
members were there.
Good enough, stipulated.
Now that's a pretty, and it included the Likud, which is, of course, that's Netanyahu's party.
Conservative party,
It included the Ozmet Yahud, which is the Yiftach Ben Gavir's party.
Okay, let's not get into all that.
And it included religious Zionism. So what you can see is these are the far-right extremists. 10 cabinet members are of that far-right extremist group that wants to eliminate all
because
Palestinians.
it's a coalition government. That's how Israel works. It's coalition. So you have to sit down and compromise with some distasteful people.
Well, then you could say the same thing about Hamas. Okay, the Hamas is a coalition government. But no, it's not.
No, they're not. Hamas is Hamas. Either you're part of us or you're not.
Well, what's happened is Israel has been taken over by a far-right extremist group that is just the same, but on the opposite wing of Hamas. They want to destroy each other. Both of those two sides want the other side dead and buried.
I think
or dead and bulldozed.
I'm going, it's for the audience's sake. About a month ago, Dave and I kind of settled this with our King for a Day discussion, which probably the more we talk about Israel in subsequent weeks, keep this in mind, audience, that there is a solution here. It's a two-state solution. Netanyahu's got to go. The Israeli population, the voters are going to take care of that. But Hamas needs to go. They don't get elected. They got to be gone. There's no right to return for the 8 million diaspora Palestinians.
Except for on the Palestinian territory.
In their Palestinian territory. All right. David and I solved this. So all of this other stuff that we're talking about, it's like, okay, it's not going to get settled. If you're trying to get American public opinion to be anti-Israel, it's not going to be. Despite the best
already. No, don't say that, Jim. You don't know what you're talking about. First of all, the reality is the world public opinion has already shifted dramatically. They were not anti-Jew, and they were not even anti-Israel before all this stuff started.
Well, where was this anti-Semitism sleeping, and why?
Yeah. Well, and the reality, you say, why do they hate us? Well, the reality is, if you sit there and drop bombs on children, if you destroy their homes and schools, if you kill, what happened? We're going to move to the next topic right after the break.
But how come nobody remembers about the women raped and all that other stuff?
We know about that. We know about that.
Well, maybe we know about it, but nobody's talking about it.
The point is that what's going on now, one crime is being committed after another. Those previous crimes of Hamas deserve to be convicted and condemned. Nobody's saying that they shouldn't.
I get to say something.
We need to talk about
here's
it
what
more
I want to know. Here's what I want to know. Hold on.
To keep people on.
No, I get to talk, and I really want you to. We're going to go somewhere over here. Okay, so you've lived long enough to know. How come we all know people who are extremely. I'm a very emotional, artistic guy. So I've learned later on in life I have to fight my emotional side. Whenever I do anything emotional, I get in trouble. I look at people that are inferior. They make a whole lot less money. I got these people. I mean, I get to meet everybody. And you got these people over here that acquire a whole lot of deep pockets. But I notice one thing about the deep pocket people. They don't speak with emotions. They sit, they reflect, they contemplate, they chew, and then they make wise decisions. There's a lot of emotion going on in this room, right? You're a very emotional guy. I have to watch out because I'm extremely emotional. He's more of a pragmatist, I think you can.
We all have our moments.
But I mean, what would be happening here if we had take the men who you admire the most, like I really liked Ronald Reagan. He would never get emotional like this. He would listen.
Oh, Reagan was emotional. He was emotional.
He was emotional, but he knew how to control it. Remember, Moses was the meekest man that ever lived. Yeah. Meek doesn't mean weak.
You're going deep into the rabbit hole.
That's right.
You're going to bring us up.
But this is an important. This is an important rabbit hole.
Make sure we bring us out of the rabbit hole.
I just want to know, how do we screw all these little particulars and all this going on? Where can we get men of sensibility? I mean, like this Netanyahu guy. He seems very talk like this, very calm, talk like this, like he thinks.
That's kind of an Indian
And
accent,
I think if he was here,
I think
if he was here, you'd probably be shocked at how much you'd agree with him on many things.
I wouldn't.
You're speculating. Is that your point? You might agree with Netanyahu?
I don't know.
Yeah.
David won't agree.
I'm
with
just
Netanyahu.
looking for real godly leadership.
All right, let's.
It doesn't exist.
We're time for the
You
break.
wish all you
Let's
want.
do a
It's not out
prelude to
there.
the second. Rhett.
So
We'll
the
move to
question
the
is,
second
you
question.
have to start planning for the aftermath of the collapse.
I don't know, because I'm the kind of guy down, on the border. I don't think we should have illegal immigrants, but
Yeah.
I can guarantee this about Rhett Palmer. If I was down there where my grandparents used to live on the Rio Grande, I'd be out there in a boat saying, "Come on, I'll bring you over. I'd want to come over too." That's the kind of guy I am. I'm a bleeding liberal heart.
Well,
I have to be
if
careful
you were, then you
because
would,
I love people
if you were
above law.
If you were a bleeding liberal heart, you would be urging Biden to cut off arms to Israel until they decide not to attack Rafah,
that's your
unless they can
decision.
get these
But I
people
have
out.
to fight.
The civilians out. Jim agreed before.
But I have to
Wait
fight
a
my
minute.
emotional
Rhett,
side. You're
Rhett.
being emotional.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to get a point across.
Well,
Jim
you are
agreed.
emotional.
Jim agreed previously in our
What was-
discussions
what-
a week or two ago.
What was that
You're
about
yelling.
putting words in people's
No,
mouths?
I
David?
know because I remember what we said. What we said
It's
was
okay to do that.
If we can get the civilians out of Gaza, especially out of Rafah and that area, then Israel has the right to go in there and
Stick
go
'em
after
in
You
them.
go in
But
and
they have
attack
not.
a school.
And we talked about moving
what you
them.
do is you attack a school. What I do is I have a fake beard on. I go and I shoot up a bunch of kids. Then I go into the bathroom. I take off the fake beard. I put on a hat, put on a tie-dye shirt, and I'm a student. And I walk out like this.
see,
And you
this
don't
is-
even know that I'm one of the bad guys.
and this is-
that's exactly, if they're
Rhett,
smart,
Rhett,
that's what they're going to do, right?
Rhett, this is the problem with the whole strategy that Israel is engaging in with this gross war. They sit there and say, "Oh well, we're going to go into Rafah, therefore you guys have to evacuate to whatever you can find down there, Al Mawasi or whatever these refugee places on the beach
if I'm
are."
a member of Hamas,
And they
I'm
could
going to go.
You were damn right. They're going to put
I'm
on
going to
their
put on my ripped old jeans and my
jeans, and
T-shirt
they're going to go with the
Oh,
refugees.
and I hate the Hamas. I hate the Hamas. I hate it.
And that's why they're back up in Jabalia and other places. Therefore, what Israel is doing is what's called whack-a-mole. It's not an efficient strategy. What Netanyahu is doing is not an efficient strategy for solving this problem. And that's what we as Americans need to tell him.
Okay.
You're just being stupid, Benjamin.
Remember what he said about King for the Day?
Yeah.
Do we all agree that Hamas is evil?
Yes.
We agree that Hamas should not be running that area. That's for sure. They should not be.
Of course, you think that they're justified because of what the Jews do.
I think that.
I don't think evil justifies evil.
Well, I agree, but if
So what do we do? What do we do with Hamas? If you could have the power, Jesus comes down to earth and says, "Look, we're going to eliminate Hamas." How are we going to eliminate Hamas
well,
and not kill babies and children?
Hamas has actually said before that if a Palestinian state is established, that they will disarm and disband the Al-Qassam Brigade.
Yeah, I say baloney.
Well, then
You know why? Because they're drunk. The head guys are drunk with power. They're not even fighting on the front lines. They're over living in France or something, right?
Rhett.
And they're having a meeting today, and they're eating
Rhett,
croquettes.
you can
and,
say the same thing about the extremists
Croquettes.
on the Zionist right. They are also talking about we want to kill every damn Palestinian on this whole Palestine territory, including the West Bank. We want to get rid of them. That's what they want. So you can say, oh, well, there's not going to be any peace because these two extreme groups on both sides won't agree to the peace. We have to go to the center. We have to find in the center.
You know what I really like on the news that I saw? I saw this Israeli woman, this Jewish woman, whose best friend is a Palestinian. And they're saying they get along. They go out and have tea together. They say, if these women can get along, why can't they? My grandfather was a world traveler, and he said,
Yeah.
except for organized religions and politicians, mankind is generally friendly. They are.
Yeah.
Plunk me down right now in the Gaza where there's some peace. And within a day, they come in, Mr. Palmer, and have tea.
We use this term back
I love you,
in
Mohammed.
the
Can
Cold
we
War.
have peace?
You remember this in the Cold War called peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence. That's the idea. So it could be done, but
Even the day when Jesus came, the Messiah came, they thought he was going to take over and be this leader and kill all the bad guys. Well, get Rome out of here. He said, I didn't come for the war here. This is a spiritual warfare. I came to create relationship between God and man, not to play war chief.
all right. Well,
That
anyway,
was actually a pretty eloquent little diatribe there.
Was it?
Right. Yeah, I think, yeah. We gotta
anyway,
bottle that. That's
after
good.
after the break, we're going to talk about these doctors that are American doctors that are trapped in Gaza right now.
I just want peace.
Well, the reason we need to discuss these things because there isn't peace right now, and Netanyahu is not engaged in peace. The peace talks have collapsed.
I would say this.
The peace talks have
on
collapsed.
your behalf, I would say this. I would ask Netanyahu, excuse me, sir, but why would you not allow them to fish beyond 3 miles? Why did you not allow them to have an airport?
Why
do you not allow them to, if you really want to give those people dignity, give them freedom to come and go as they want on their other side or whatever. You don't have to come into Israel.
Yeah, as long as you don't try to murder us. Come and go as long as you do. And so
See,
far,
that's
that
the
hasn't
problem.
been the case.
No, but because there wasn't there peace. Well, no, let's go back before was it October 7th? This all went down. Okay,
right.
let's go back to the 1st of October. Hadn't there been peace over there for a while? I mean, you got Jews living for so. I've been to Israel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been, but I've been there, and I stayed at a kibbutz. But I can tell you this: if I was in a kibbutz right near the border there, I'm a pretty sharp guy, sharp enough to know that I'm not going to live in a kibbutz on the border there, because those people get inflamed. And this thing's getting inflamed. I'm going to be right in the middle of the gunfire.
Well, you don't want to live next to a prison camp. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't want to live next to a prison camp.
And I would feel
and
guilty,
you have to understand,
too.
people that are living in that prison
I
camp
see
are
little
not
boys
happy
and little
campers.
girls over there that don't have any
The
food
people,
and don't have any jobs.
It's one of the most densely populated areas on Earth, and that's
Gaza.
called a prison camp. Okay? Now, you've created
So
this
let me ask this. So
boiling
I'd like
pot.
to ask Netanyahu, why did you not? Why? If you're going to give people free, make decisions here. Nobody's making any decisions. Nothing's decisive. No. When they did this thing on October 7th, I was with Netanyahu 1,000%. I said it's time to go in. Look, Barbara had 3 cancers. We went in to kill the cancer. We won. Take 8 years, no cancer. Okay. You don't go, well, I'm just going to take out part of the liver and hope that she lives. Or not before it's the liver with her, but whatever it would be with somebody. You make a decision.
Well,
and so
I
why did
disagree.
they go half? Why
Rhett,
did they treat the people like that in Gaza? Why?
First of all, don't refer to the people of Palestine as cancer cells. That's wrong.
No, I'm talking about Hamas though.
Well,
I'm
that's
talking about Hamas.
okay.
Hamas is the cancer.
Yeah.
How do you either you annihilate them or you don't. There's no. It's just like Jesus said, I wish above all things you were hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'm going to spew you out, baby. Because at least if you're dedicated as a sinner, I might be able to win you over. And that's why God loves the chief sinners, the bank robbers and stuff, because at least when they come to their senses, they go, I know that I'm not good. Okay, now I can work with you. And
in some ways, your analogy of cancer is interesting, because if you know about cancer, the problem is you have to kill the bad cells, but it's hard to identify and target these bad
because they're in with the good
They're in with the
cells.
good
like
cells.
these
Does that sound
beautiful,
familiar?
young, innocent babies that are
Yeah.
being killed, and little
Yeah.
kids and mommies and daddies that are just good people that want to make a living and have tea in the afternoon.
On that metaphysical thread, right? Because it is very apt. Cancer embeds itself into the good cells, so sometimes you got to kill some of the good cells with the, you not even sometimes. You are killing some of the good cells to get to. That's what they do. So the analogy for modern warfare, which Hamas, I mean the Vietnamese, this is insurgency warfare. It wasn't invented in the last 50 years. It's been going on for centuries, right?
Did you read The Art of War?
Oh, but Lao Tzu, yes, I have read parts of it. So the point is, it's an intractable problem. But what we do know now, going back to the biological side and the medical side, is that with DNA research, which means changing the chromosome, changing the programming of genes through drugs and some other therapies, we have a much better survivability rate with cancer. What's the analog on the Palestinian-Israeli side? You have to change the DNA. What's the DNA? The DNA is how people think, right? The Netanyahu is necessary. He's not a cancer necessarily. You need to be able to protect your country. You need to have serious leaders in any country you live in that when they see a threat, they're willing to raise to the threat and protect their people. But that can't be all there is, right? And the same is true for Hamas. You have to change the hearts and minds. Get those kids out of the madrasas. Get them in good public schools. Give them a good, reasonable, conservative, secular upbringing. Make them good citizens so they don't want people like Hamas ruling them. That's it.
But what you just said.
Why can't we do this?
Okay, I get the answer though. But what you just said cannot take place. Okay, right now we have freedom in America, and with freedom you can choose. But when people don't decide to stick to moral, that's why I tell people, you can go out and you can have mayhem in the streets. But if you let that prevail, sooner or later we're going to get a dictator, and the people are going to welcome the dictator because he's going to have organization. The only thing is when man does that, it's like this. In other words,
be careful what you wish for with dictators.
If we cut off the hands of everybody that was caught as a thief in America right now, first time you lose your pinky, next time you lose your wrist.
I get
okay?
it. That's Sharia law, pretty much.
Okay, right. But can you imagine living like that?
No.
You know, because I was a little boy at 9. I remember I stole Matchbox cars. I was a thief until I learned I don't want to do that.
America's a unique country on the planet.
But
We invented
we've had
democracy.
a code. But if that code continues to decline,
we'll get a dictator. Yeah,
it's inevitable.
Yeah, any vacuum is going to.
So what I'm saying to you is, I want freedom. I'm going to speak for who I believe is my Father in heaven. He wants freedom to prevail, but it has to be under the hand of God, because man is an oppressor. If I became King Rhett tomorrow, somebody's going to not like it, because look at the guy Hussein.
What tribe
I
are you
hate
from?
bullies. You ever have a bully when you were a kid? I got bullied. Okay, Saddam Hussein. But at least he had the Shiites and the Sunnis. They were all living in peace. The guy must have been some kind of a genius. Now, he was brute. His children were evil. They're all dead and gone now, and he's dead and gone. But at least peace prevailed. You know, it was an oppressive peace, right?
Yeah. No, that you could point to Marshal Tito in Yugoslavia, and any authoritarian regime. Once they eliminate all of their opposition, who are in graves or re-education camps, then you're left with a compliant population.
Benevolent dictatorship is the only thing will work, and the only one worthy of that is the Lamb of God, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that's where I'm going to leave it.
Yeah,
we're going to keep warring.
Jim had a very good example with this Tito in Yugoslavia, because Tito, you were dealing with a fractious bunch of different ethnic groups, and he was a strong-arm marshal that was overlord of all of those.
So David,
did he turn out to be a good guy?
No, well, he's sort of what I called the least bad guy.
Did he get corrupt?
That would be the term. I don't know if he's corrupt, but he's the least bad guy. He was using authoritarianism, like the fascism of Mussolini.
And Yugoslavia was Muslim and Orthodox Christian. They had a lot of different races and ethnicities, and he kept a lid on it. But an interesting show might be, for future references, take the Yugoslavia, which was an intractable problem for a long time, but now I'm going to Croatia in a couple of weeks. I'm part of the old Yugoslavia.
Why would anybody go to
Hold
Croatia?
on, because it's a beautiful place.
Oh,
it's
yeah, it's
Roman,
very popular
Byzantine, Roman ruins.
Going on a ship?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would be interesting to hear David's perspective on how Yugoslavia has been broken up and normalized, so it's now they get together, and how that might be a template for the Middle East, including Israel.
Yeah. All right.
We'll talk about that when we take back. Okay, coffee break coming here. I'm Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the Airways.
Wow, that would be a good one.
Yeah, I have another.
Because you have to migrate to solution.
Yeah,
The Minutemen answered the call during the American Revolution. Now, Minuteman Press answers the call with custom print and design services designed to promote your business like nobody's business. They lead the charge, but never overcharge for great design, print, and promotional materials. Minuteman Press in Vero Beach, and now in Port St. Lucie. Ready to answer the call. Google Minuteman Press or visit pslminutemanpress.com.
Hi, I'm a golf enthusiast, and I love Big Shots Golf on US 1, next to Advanced Eye Care. I was at Big Shots recently and had a great time playing a virtual 18-hole golf course. Big Shots also serves really good food. The mini cheeseburgers are my favorite. I love the ice cream, too. For a fun time, bring your friends and family to Big Shots Golf on US 1.
I know you want to have a beautiful smile. Well, an examination, radiographs, a healthy cleaning would normally be well over $200. Gosh. Right now, for $79, you can call Plains Dental Arts, 231-6004. It's all included for $79. The examination, the radiographs, the healthy cleaning. Okay, call Plains Dental Arts. Make your appointment right now, 772-231-6004. Takes care of gingivitis, takes care of halitosis, gives you a great healthy smile. You get a thorough examination. Plains Dental Arts, just south of the Village Beach Market on A1A. Again, $79 for the examination, radiographs, healthy cleaning, 231-6004. Call now, 772-231-6004.
A.E. Stalls Real Estate and Associates is a hometown family company. Josh and Mandy Stalls, along with their two sons, have deep roots in this community. As a boutique brokerage, they are located steps away from Vero's beachside communities. They have a strong team of realtors, the tools, and experience to guide clients to the closing table. Helping clients feel confident in the buying and selling market is what they do. You can reach them at stallsrealestate.com, Facebook, or 772-800-8305.
They say you sleep a third of your life. So why is shopping for a mattress so important? There's a mattress store on every corner. But when you visit the Mattress Market store, you'll find Steve and his family, in business for 35 years, waiting to help you find the best mattress at the best price to give you the best night's sleep. All the major brands: Serta Perfect Sleeper, Simmons Beauty Rest, Posh and Lavish, Urban Loft Ice, Pure Latex Bliss, I Love My Pillow, Kingsdown, Biscayne Bedding, and many more. US 1 right next to Waves, Mattress Market in Vero Beach, for a good night's sleep and a great deal. Mattress Market.
You can't control that at all in there?
The Rhett Palmer broadcast is brought to you by Complete Electric Complete Alarm. Get your generator checked now before the next hurricane strikes. Call the good folks at Complete Electric Complete Alarm. You'll be safe and sound when the next hurricane strikes. Call Complete Electric Complete Alarm.
The Minutemen answered the call during the American Revolution. Now, Minuteman Press answers the call with custom print and design services designed to promote your business like nobody's business. They lead the charge, but never overcharge for great design, print, and promotional materials. Minuteman Press in Vero Beach and now in Port St. Lucie. Ready to answer the call. Google Minuteman Press or visit pslminutemanpress.com.
They say you sleep a third of your life. So why is shopping for a mattress so important? There's a mattress store on every corner. But when you visit the Mattress Market store, you'll find Steve and his family, in business for 35 years, waiting to help you find the best mattress at the best price to give you the best night's sleep. All the major brands: Serta Perfect Sleeper, Simmons Beauty Rest, Posh and Lavish, Urban Loft Ice, Pure Latex Bliss, I Love My Pillow, Kingsdown, Biscayne Bedding, and many more. US 1 right next to Waves, Mattress Market in Vero Beach, for a good night's sleep and a great deal. Mattress Market.
I know you want to have a beautiful smile. Well, an examination, radiographs, a healthy cleaning would normally be well over $200. Gosh. Right now, for $79, you can call Plains Dental Arts, 231-6004. It's all included for $79. The examination, the radiographs, the healthy cleaning. Okay, call Plains Dental Arts. Make your appointment right now, 772-231-6004. Takes care of gingivitis, takes care of halitosis, gives you a great healthy smile. You get a thorough examination. Plains Dental Arts, just south of the Village Beach Market on A1A. Again, $79 for the examination, radiographs, healthy cleaning, 231-6004. Call now, 772-231-6004.
Indian River County, roll with us, recycle. It's hard to recycle, right? Pizza boxes, milk cartons, dog food bags, frozen food boxes, to-go cups and lids. Where do they all go? No worries, there's an app for that. Download the Carter's Corner app on your mobile device at Google Play or the Apple App Store, or visit indianriver.gov to find out if an item is recyclable in your blue card or not. So eliminate confusion at the cart and recycle right with the Carter's Corner app.
And he doesn't want to make an enemy of Shane, but I don't think Shane's doing anything for us anymore, huh?
Your mics are unmuted, by the way.
Okay, our mics are unmuted. Well, that means we're back. Okay, right?
Rhett Palmer,
the mayor of the airwaves, is ready to go. Talking to people you want to know.
face to face,
one-on-one. Get the story and have some fun with
Rhett Palmer.
And now, the most trusted name in radio, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
We need to revamp everything. I would like to say this to you guys, and as much with the arrogance of men, but, you know, I listened to an old show that I did about 10 years ago, accidentally. It was being replayed on one of our streaming things. And I was amazed at my fluidity of mind and the sharpness I have.
Lucidity.
My lucidity. And things have been compromised. I'm now
since then?
I'm 70. You know, and sometimes I think about bringing Noah in here. Noah is at the top of his game at 26. I mean, he's just matured. His brain, he doesn't know it as a male. females 18, men up to 25. So he's just matured, okay, his brain. But he's very smart. Noah, you're very smart. Man, I would love to get Noah in here and have us listen to his point of view too, because it's a fresh new start, you know.
Do that. He's been here a long time. He's listened to a lot of stuff being
If we were to do this right, I'd like to have a room, probably about 20 of us. I'd like to have you guys. I'd like to have me. I'd like to have guys like David Walsh, who's 98, going to be 98 June 4th. But I'd also like to have ages 25, 30 represented, 35, 40. Let's get it all in there
because call it
because
town hall, Rhett. So you want to do a Rhett Palmer show town hall and have more people.
We have
and
got to
cross-state
rectify.
demographics.
We've got to come to our senses. We've got egomaniacs. First of all, you have to be an idiot egomaniac to run. Do you agree with this? You have to be an egomaniac idiot to run for the presidency of the United States. Who would want to do that?
We have unfortunately we have a gerontocracy running this country. That's the problem. Both sides.
That's interesting. A gerontocracy.
Both of them.
Gerontocracy.
Gerontocracy.
Now we're
gerontocracy.
A gerontocracy. Gerontocracy.
Geron. Geron.
No, there's no N in it.
Autocracy.
Is there an N in it?
I don't know.
Geron.
Ask Siri.
Gerontocracy.
Geron. Hey, hey Siri, what's a gerontocracy?
Autocracy. A gerontocracy.
I don't know what the word geriatric means.
No.
Gerontocracy.
He
More
forgot.
oligarchical rule where leaders are older than most of the population. Gerontocracy.
Right.
There is an N in it. Gerontocracy. I didn't even know that was a word.
Well, now you
That's
got
great.
Look at all the stuff you're learning.
You're learning.
Yeah. Okay, we get 10:22. I got a lady calling in here to do an
pretty
interview.
soon, yeah.
We have somebody zooming in here at 10:30. Make sure you be alert to that, okay, Noah?
All right, so we got.
Because then the pastor comes on
All
at
right,
11.
we may just be able to get to this second point.
Okay, second point.
Yeah,
My gosh.
We'll save the others for the next time.
You know, maybe what we need to do is, I hate to say it, but I used to start my show every day live
let's go.
years ago at 7. Then I moved to 8. Now we're at 9.
If we
Maybe
stopped-
we need to come in here on Wednesdays
we
at
need
8
to be
o'clock.
more on target and stop drifting
Well,
off.
this is important stuff, though.
An hour and a half's plenty of time. We got to be
If
more
we really
concise.
knew we could change history, we should come in here at 8 a.m.
Okay. All right.
No one doesn't want to do it. He's going, no one's going, I've gotten used to sleeping in. I don't want to come in at 8 again.
Yeah.
For the first 5 years he worked here, we were here at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, are American doctors trapped in Gaza? That's what you want to talk about?
Yep.
Okay, up to 20 American doctors are trapped inside Gaza since Israel closed the Rafah border crossing last week. That crossing was previously used to move aid workers into and out of Gaza Strip. Apparently, just this Monday, UN security convoy was heading to the European hospital to rescue one sick American doctor, but the UN convoy was attacked by IDF troops. IDF stands for what?
The Israeli Defense Force.
Okay, troops. And one UN member was killed. And they're supposed to be people of peace, right? So what should be done?
Well, this is an evolving story. It's happening right now as we're talking. I heard this morning that the UN has been conducting an investigation of this, and they have confirmed that the UN convoy had provided its coordinates and information to the Israelis. This is very similar to the World Food Kitchen disaster. In this case, though, what you've got is 20 doctors, some of whom are American, are trapped, meaning that they cannot return. They basically come in for 2-week to 3-week tours. That's what they do. And they come in and work at these hospitals, treating all kinds of terrible cases resulting from the bombings and destruction that has been going on in this war. So they're in the European hospital, and they normally come in and out through the Gaza crossing. Gaza crossing has been closed for the last 4 or 5 days. The Israelis have taken it over. They've got tanks there. They're not letting people in and out. So these Americans and others who are in there can't get out. They can't leave to return back to their duty stations back in the U.S. where they work as regular hospitals.
I would think that if Joe Biden was going to exert some pressure, that would be pressure. Listen, I don't care what you do outside, but these are our citizens. You let them out, or you get no aid of any kind.
Well, good. That's it. I agree with Jim.
I think all three of us agree to that.
Yeah. And see, this is an example. And actually, the UN convoy, the relatives of these American, I call them hostages. They're doctors who are working there and can't get out. These people told the Department of State that the rescue efforts were underway and it was being coordinated with the United Nations. So the State Department was telling them This was, in other words, the United Nations and State Department working together to get these doctors out. And while they were trying to get them out, the rescue mission was attacked. It was attacked by an Israeli tank, by the way. A tank. This is a convoy. And the convoy, with UN all over the convoy, it was struck by a tank. And one of the UN members was killed. Now, there's something really wrong here. This is the second time. You saw about the World Food Kitchen. They said, oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry.
May I say one thing, though, on your behalf? If three of us had been, if somebody drove by right now and shot at us, we all live, but just 1 minute of terror, we probably have nightmares for the rest of our lives on this day. Can you imagine, when they talk about the post-traumatic syndrome?
Post-traumatic stress.
PTSD.
I mean, it's no wonder so many soldiers commit suicide. This is horrible. So you got to understand, the people running that tank, they're fighting for their lives every moment. Somebody could be shooting. Oh, you know. So you've got to put that into the mix.
Okay.
Of, you know.
Well, the World Food Kitchen was, again, 3 separate strikes on 3 separate vehicles. Yeah. The Israelis admitted that was a big mistake. They said, "Oh, we're terribly sorry." They made promises, pledges that they would improve coordination and safeguarding of humanitarian staff. That's what they said about 3 weeks ago when that happened.
What did this tank driver say? What did he say? Why did he do it?
The 7 international aid agencies have said today or yesterday that the Israelis, including Save the Children and CARE, that those pledges have not been fulfilled. In other words, what Israel promised it would do to be more careful with dealing with humanitarian workers has not been fulfilled. They are just continuing right on, just ignoring it and doing what they used to do.
So a question. So what would you do, David, if in that UN convoy or the World Kitchen convoy or any sort of humanity corridor, you had actionable, unimpeachable intelligence that there were, because we have GPS locations of a lot of Hamas people. We see their comings and goings. That they're being infiltrated by Hamas. They're going in at the last minute and say, okay, you got a UN convoy going in. I'm going to take a ride with you because I'm going to go out and get some, material or make a deal or whatever. There's 3 of us are going to ride along, but all of you in there, well scheduled, well planned. UN knows you're going, but at the last minute, in come the guns and say you have no choice. Off you go, with the hope of getting through. And Israel has intelligence about that. But all the world sees, all you see, all Tony Blinken sees, like, oh well.
See, this is what I call spinning a myth.
But how do you know it's a myth?
We know it's a myth because the Israelis admitted that they made a frigging terrible mistake.
Does that make it all the time?
It means that in many cases, Israel's intelligence is flawed. You act like the Israelis are some god that knows everything invincibly. In reality, they didn't even know about the attack coming in from Gaza.
You know that you're angry right now.
I'm trying to explain. This is ridiculous.
But you're fighting a war.
No, I'm telling you, I'm fighting idiots when I'm trying to explain.
If you're 60% sure that a convoy, and you're in war, in an existential war, and you're 60% sure that that's been infiltrated, that convoy that's going through by Hamas. That means 40% of the time you're going to be wrong. As a military commander, what are you going to do? I'm going to take it out.
Yeah, I think that the Israeli military command is a loose cannon. They don't know what they're doing. I think that they are
absolutely.
But you mentioned before a bunch of post-traumatic stress disorder types in the troops.
Yes.
They're probably firing at anything. We've already talked about this in previous shows. What was called kill zones. They set up kill zones. Anybody going through those kill zones gets killed.
It happened in Vietnam. It happened in Germany.
And if they're killed, then they're suddenly defined as a Hamas terrorist. Oh, we killed a terrorist because we killed somebody. He's dead on the ground, therefore he must be a Hamas terrorist. That's what they call retroactive designation as a terrorist.
So all this does is it shines the light on the utter barbarity of Hamas, all right, embedding itself in every facet of civilian life, including with relief people, because we know that from the UN as well, that they had Hamas people in the UN UNRWA workers that participated in
most of that is
but David doesn't want to talk about
I want to talk about it. That's
Palestinian people have said they've been shot at by Hamas.
UNRWA discredited it?
No. Other parts of the United Nations discredited it. This whole claim that UNRWA is... Listen to me. The whole part that's been claimed that UNRWA was infiltrated, heavily infiltrated. Some Israeli military said that 40% of UNRWA was Hamas linked.
No.
40%.
It was not 40%. We know that there were 7 of them, or I don't know the exact number. It was high single digits. Hamas
people in or that worked for UNRWA, and they had jobs at UNRWA. They have their names, and they participated
October
in
7th.
the October 7th. So we know that.
Really, UN people.
So
This is what
this
Israel is
highlights the barbarity.
We don't know
the
it.
barbarity of embedding combatants in with civilian populations. And when you do that, what do you expect?
Jim,
what do you expect?
Jim, what I expect is evidence, and Israel is not providing evidence.
In war,
Israel
David.
did
In
not
war,
provide
David. There's no
evidence.
time for evidence.
Oh,
It's
you can
either
just
you're
make it
gonna-
up. Yeah, you can just make it up.
No, you don't make it up. All right, the little kid
Where's
right there,
the
he's got a
evidence?
grenade launcher, but
Jim.
it's under a bowl of rice. All right, but I'm
Jim.
going to go to the and give my rice
Well,
to
you're
the
right in
US
some ways,
GIs.
but also you need to know that there's a lot of bad stuff going on both sides.
I
You
agree
cannot
that-
prosecute
I agree there
a-
is, but Israel's the IDF claim, by the way, the IDF claim of these UNRWA staffers, they use that as a way to shut down the entire UNRWA operation. They use that as a way to shut down the entire UNRWA operation.
Yes.
That's what Israel's trying to do. Now, why is Israel trying to do that? For the same reason.
They're trying to protect themselves.
They're
going to
trying-
use every means they
What
can.
Israel has been doing, this was reported yesterday. A bunch of Israelis were out on a street and stopped some deliveries of food convoys coming into Gaza, threw the food out on the street, and then 3 trucks of the food, they set fire to it. This is Israelis that were trying to stop.
Where geographically did this take place?
Somewhere
in Israel,
It
near
was
the
in
border.
Israel, near the border. Yeah, it was in Israel, and these were Israeli settlers that were saying we don't want any food going into Gaza because any food going into Gaza is going to feed Hamas.
Okay,
They're not wrong.
So but let me say this though: if they had come in and killed my wife, my baby girls, and my son, guest is now on. Okay. We do have to say goodbye, fellas.
Right.
Listen,
That was great.
it's
Thank you
great
very much,
stimulation.
David.
But
Good
you
to
know
see
what? You know what we need to do though
Yeah.
is to find commonality. We all want peace.
Yeah.
Whether you're a Palestinian baby or
We
you're
all
a
want
Jewish
peace.
baby or a black baby or white baby or Chinese,
Right.
God,
Okay.
we need peace.
Peace on earth.
Give peace a chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
Sound like we're in the 60s
well,
with Vietnam.
Some ways we are.
peace doesn't go out of vogue.
Yeah.
Never.
Okay. Ciao. Yeah. Thanks,
Ciao.
Fred.
Arrivederci.
Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Well, that was-
Okay, so are we going to